is this incredible report. FEMA camps confirmed these are rendition kidnapping hubs. It doesn't get more important than this. Imagine if people would have known about Hitler early on and actually fought him. He could have been defeated. Or Lenin or Stalin or Mao. This is America. We're not perfect, but you know what? We're not poor serfs in Russia or Germany. We're going to fight back, and we're going to fight back with the info war while the sun's still shining. The sun's setting on our republic. Tyranny's coming in, and people are starting to listen. You want hardcore data? Here it is. We're in New York City, right here on the Hudson River. And this condemned former bus station where they stored the buses is being used to hold over 2,000 protesters. And they admit that they randomly set up fences and scoop up whole crowds of people and then take them here. And for over 3 days, they've not let people talk to lawyers, call out, talk to their families. Some have been released. Some have gone to the hospital with rashes over their entire bodies. This building is condemned. The city admits it. The bus union wouldn't allow them to use it years ago, so they turned it into an emergency police facility. It's full of asbestos, chemicals, oils from decades and decades and decades in this 70-year-old building, and the average stay for someone scooped up in there is over 24 hours. The city even admits that.
Many of the nearly 2,000 protesters arrested over the past few days have been taken to an old bus depot on Manhattan's West Side. But now the use of Pier 57 as a temporary holding facility is stirring up some controversy of its own. Protests are being held there to spotlight conditions. Some of those being detained say they're getting sick. There are reports of cramped conditions, rashes, chemical burns, and difficulty breathing.
We should call this facility what it is, and it's a concentration camp. It's the Pier 57 concentration camp.
The mayor has the nerve, and the police commissioner has the nerve to allow this to happen, to actually stick people in an oil-filled garage with asbestos.
Across the nation, at airports and old military bases, they're installing hangars and structures to intern the American people under military control. They're also integrating local police. You've already seen some of the evidence. But even the town where I live, Austin, Texas, is not immune from these activities. We're told that there's a holding facility here on the old Robert Mueller Municipal Airport, a hangar to hold people. Have you been inside there?
No, not since they fixed it up. I haven't. I was in before they fixed it up.
How did they fix it up?
Well, you probably don't recognize it, but it's an abandoned hangar at the old airport just off 51st Street. Today and tomorrow, sheriff's employees are turning this place into a booking center and even a holding cell. Now, it really doesn't look like much, and okay, it's really not, but it is a perfect place to set up shop. Anyone arrested in the Travis County area during the New Year's Eve party for a Class C misdemeanor will be brought out here. Sheriff's officials tell me it's pretty primitive. Inmates will be fingerprinted and allowed 2 free phone calls. Then they'll be held here for about 4 hours, just enough time to sober up. Then they'll be released and expected to appear in court in the future. Only people who have ID on them will be brought out here since they won't have the capability to run fingerprint checks, and they're mostly expecting people arrested for public intoxication down in the A2K and 6th Street areas. This temporary booking facility opens up for business tomorrow night. That's Thursday at 8 o'clock.
We're hoping to get staff acclimated to working in this environment starting tomorrow with hopefully a low volume of arrests. So hopefully by come Friday night, everyone will know how the flow is going to work in here and be used to it.
The holding cell is surrounded by this chain link fence, and the fire marshal has told the sheriff's department that they can hold about 380 people in here, and the sheriff's deputies are ready for a busy night.
Anyone who got in their way was arrested and shipped to a FEMA center, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. In direct violation of Posse Comitatus, had Delta Force on the ground from day one of the demonstrations and protest, continually integrating the local, state, county, and city police under federal command. This should be a giant red flag for any American concerned about their God-given rights and their freedom in this country.
At least 250, perhaps more, and those that have been taken into custody from the streets of downtown Seattle protesting for a variety of reasons. The World Trade Ministers here on their visit. You see them here with their hands pretty much cuffed behind their backs with those plastic sort of strap handcuffed apparatus. They are being led into the Sandpoint Brig, Remember, we told you about this story, dancing all the way in some cases. We told you about this story a couple of weeks ago. A number of the neighbors in that area of Sandpoint Naval Air Station were shocked to hear that the old brig was being reopened just in case it was needed, and it has been. As we said, at least 250 arrests now, maybe more.
And we've seen 400 people arrested. The facility at Sandpoint, we're told, is full. We're told they did not create another one at Boeing Field. But they continue to arrest people, and they continue to crack down hard on the protesters this afternoon.
The worst thing is I finally saw something with my own eyes. It's one thing to talk about it and hear people talk about it on the radio, etc. I saw this with my own eyes at LAX, the Los Angeles airport. They've built a giant human holding pen. It's obvious. It's quite obvious what it's for. It's for processing people. This thing, they used to park all of our limousines and cars and buses at the eastern end of the north set of runways. There's two sets of runways at LAX. They used to park all of us at the eastern end of the north runway where the planes would land right over the top of us. They moved us all out of there this past summer, which I thought was strange. What I saw was when I pulled in there, and I was followed twice by the cops when I pulled in and I took pictures. This thing it's a holding pen. It could hold thousands of people. It's right next to the tarmac. There's no buildings, no nothing. It's like a 10 or 12-foot fence with a permanent concrete base around the base of it. And there's two sets of barbed wire on top facing in and out. So, there's fences like that all over around the airport area.
They actually have one of those at Bergstrom and at the old airport. And I first reported it was a secret holding pen. But the news said I was a conspiracy theorist, but that it was to hold people during civil unrest. So I'm bad for being right and breaking the news. I don't get an award. I'm bad because I'm right, and it's kooky not to like it.
What's going on at the old airport?
This is where the party could end up, Walt, if A2K and Y2K partiers do get out of hand.
These turnstiles, let me describe them, because you could say, well, it's part of an airport. No. These are those big tubular steel turnstiles. They go in, they don't come back out. There's no way to get back out. There's 4 sets of them, so there's like 16 turnstiles that go into this thing. And it's like the size of 3 football fields. You could get thousands of people. The thing about it that proves what it is because there's on the fence that goes onto the tarmac. You go straight onto the airport tarmac, where, what kind of security is that? They put a big black gate in that you can pull trucks, buses, whatever, into this holding pen. So it's built to move lots of people quickly into this pen and then move them onto the tarmac. Now, what is that for? Except to move people and put them onto aircraft?
No, that's like the Oklahoma City Federal Processing Center. This is actually all in the Emergency Centers Establishment Act, and it's just these creepy crooks and all the stuff with our money they've built against us because they know they're a bunch of crooks. What you just saw is a tiny snapshot of the evidence. My film, Police State 4, The Rise of FEMA, is 16 years of condensed research on the blueprint for the globalist takeover. You notice we reverse engineered this years ago, and we've been unbelievably accurate now that they've publicly announced all this. We're now in post-denial phase. They know they've got a 9% approval rating. They know you're awake to them. Now they're just going with pure intimidation. They think you're fearful. I know you're like me. You're strong, you're deliberative, you're focused, you're committed. The facts are now out. You're going to stand against this. I get a lot of emails saying, why do you cover all this? It's scary. You're going to scare people. I don't think you're cowards. I think when you're faced with the truth, like Patrick Henry said, you'll want the truth and make preparation for it. Just denying this stuff doesn't make it go away. It's like folks I've known who smoke 3 packs of cigarettes. They go, oh, I know you can get cancer, but I never will, and they get cancer. I mean, wouldn't you rather me say, hey, quit smoking cigarettes? And you're like, well, I've been smoking them. I'm going to live in denial. No, quit now, and statistically you won't get lung cancer as quickly. Well, it's the same thing. We got a real case of sickening, disgusting, degenerate tyranny. And we need to be honest about it. I know there's a lot of mainstream dinosaur media watching. Look, stop acting stupid. You don't have to be spoon-fed everything. Look up congressional hearings. There's film of it. Rex 84. Look up Emergency Centers Establishment Act. Look up Civilian Inmate Labor Camp Program. Look up Continuity of Government Civil Unrest Program. Look up decommissioned bases used for civil emergencies. Stop living in la-la land. Okay, it's all real, and they've spent our tax money by the hundreds of billions on these camps. And they've spent probably over $1 trillion in the aggregate since the 40s on underground bases. Switzerland has spent per capita less than 1/100th on underground bases. They have a 2-year food supply, generators, fuel, water, guns, hand grenade launchers for their entire population for less than 1/100th. Why haven't we been let in on the COG in these bases in case of biological release, asteroids, nuclear war? Because we're seen as the enemy. America's been conquered by offshore banks. Do you understand that? We're run, our government has been hijacked by our enemies. There's no bunker for you and your family like Switzerland. They've spent 100 times the money per capita, and it's all built so they can do whatever they want to us. And the whole thing is manned by military and others and corporate people. That's why they're getting rid of the military, bringing in corporates and bringing in drones and bringing in robots. And please don't send me an idiotic email about we're not run by drones and robots. They've already got half the stuff in the air is robot. And they've kept quiet the ground force because that does freak out people. They want to think of men fighting like John Wayne. Within 10 years, no more John Wayne. Okay? I mean, listen, there's not a lot of time to screw around, folks. Okay? How much of what I've said has come true so far? If we don't have an awakening now and put the brakes on this, I want America to be great and prosperous. But there's three or four things can happen. Total World War III, globalists win, launch bioattacks on us, lockdown society, end of humanity as we know it. The global tyranny overreaches, has some wars, fails and collapses. That's much better. Depression, starving in the streets better than them going ahead with the full plan. Or we could wake up, put the brakes on, have some sanity, and pull back from this. But living in denial and hyperventilating over football all day while science fiction crazy land is going on around you, run by psycho mad scientists, there's not time to screw around anymore. There's not time to live in denial. Okay? You have been warned. Now, let me continue here with the news. Speaking of oppression, here's a Daily Mail article. U.S. falls to 47th in press freedom rankings after Occupy crackdown because the big organizations that break all this down, Reporters Without Borders and others who know what tyranny is, are confirming that the United States arrested and assaulted and falsely charged hundreds and hundreds of peaceful protesters across the United States at Occupy Wall Street, not to mention our reporter Rob Dew a few years ago in Pittsburgh, totally peacefully videotaping police beating up college students for no reason in their own campus at night, saying no one's allowed out in the city at night, and they're out there eating hamburgers at the park bench and beating girls over the head. He's videotaping it. They arrested him. So, yes, this is another hallmark of tyranny. We've got a couple quotes on this. Never have journalists, through their reporting, vexed the enemies of freedom so much. Never have acts of censorship and physical attacks on journalists seemed so numerous. Oh, yeah, I mean, I've been arrested and had my shoulder partway wrenched out of socket. I'm in pain every day for what they did to me 14 years ago for asking Governor Bush a question at the end of his stupid conference. And he pointed